So, good day everyone. It's nice to see you all. We will start our discussion exactly 6:05 p.m. So, please wait patiently. Is that okay with you? If yes, kindly raise your virtual hands. Let's see. Kinsa may nag-raise na sa ilahang virtual hands? See? Oh, eight more raised their virtual hands. So I guess everyone is fine with it. So before your other classmates enter our Google meeting, I would like to remind you all that this meeting will be recorded. Kaya para ma-rewatch ninyo everyone. So to all the present students, how are you today? I would like two students pero brag taas-taas pa man tag time. Let's try kung pila atong makater. So, does anyone wants to share his or her mood? Any volunteer? Raise your virtual hands, guys. Let's see, kinsa may raise of virtual hands. So, Mesli,
Good evening, ma'am.
how are you
Actually,
today?
actually, na later to na ako ganang down, ma'am. Pero to answer your question, ma'am, I am fine, ma'am. But at the same time, I am stressed because feeling nako kay ga chill ra ko nya dagan ti activities pero kinahanglan ako magpahulay pero stress ko kay ngano gapahulay ko pero fighting gyapon, ma'am. Thank you.
Don't worry, you are not alone. Same with you, di ana gyapon ako feeling pero sagdi lang. Someday, mahuman na jud niya atong mga problema. So, Renant is raising his virtual hand. How about you, Renant? How are you today?
Actually, ma'am, I am very happy and motivated and inspiring because I see you here in our meet Google Meet.
What can I say? But that's really nice. Thank you so much for participating. So, wala na may
Thank you,
nag-raise
ma'am.
hand. Pero burag daghan-daghan man ta karon. So, interview na lang ta mga one by one. Kay, tag-ingon mo ko ganina nga 6-5. So, let's stick with that time. So, how about you, Tonji? Hi, Tonji.
Good morning.
Musta naman
Hi,
ka,
ma'am. Yes, good
Tonji?
evening, ma'am.
So, how are you doing today?
Well, fun gapon, ma'am. Feeling stressed lang gapon. I'm not feeling okay, actually, kay nagtapon og gid ang activities, so stressed out kayo.
Sagdi lang, mas
That's all, ma'am.
normal na jud ng stress. Actually, kita man jud tanan stress karon. Pero sagdi lang lagi someday pag mag-take tag lat exam tas basin maswertian ta makapasar na atuan lang ni ikatawa atong stress dayon. So 5:58 na. So how about si Elizabeth Ipanto? How are you today? Hi Elizabeth.
Hi, ma'am. Hello.
Musta man ka karon?
Doing ma'am.
Oh, I guess na problem imo internet connectivity pero that's okay. Thank you so much for answering. Unta okay ra karon. So, racing sa hand si kinsa man nag-race si Junjun. How about you, Jun? Musta man ka karon?
Good evening, ma'am. I'm good, ma'am. I'm just enjoying my learning, ma'am. Thank you.
Wow, sana all enjoying learning. That's very nice. Continue doing that. Dapat stay positive ta oy bisag daghan kitag problema sa life kay wala jud tayo mahimong kundi kay ma-inspire. Kinsa pa may naa dere pe nga. How about you, Jean? Musta man ka? Hi, Jean.
Um, Good evening again, ma'am. I'm somewhat relieved kay na-lesson na ako muna at natambak naman ng buhatunon. I'm excited for today's lesson. That's all, ma'am.
That's really nice. Ba, unta ba, mali ana, sa dunta ko yung mga sa dunta ko mga assignment. Pero sagdi lang, ha? don't worry guys, hapit na bitaw ang kanang December. Ka-relax na jud ta. De advance siya kay ang inyong virtual teacher for today. So, how about si kinsa matang pwede matawag dire be? Si Dea. How about you, Dea? Musta man ka karon? Hi, Dea. Ay, I guess kay kanang hinay ang internet ni Dia. How about you, Jomelyn?
Good evening, ma'am.
Musta man karon, Jomelyn?
I'm doing fine, ma'am. Thank you.
Wow, very short pero I know nga brag chill-chill na karon. I'm very happy for that. So, kinsa pa man hapit na jud mag 6:05. So burag mahurot jud ta mag interview karon, guys, kay dugay man kay ang time. Why? So how about you, Vince? Musta man ka karon?
I'm actually excited for the discussion, ma'am. And
Wow,
honestly, I am multitasking here while listening to you. I'm also answering a
multitasking.
test.
Wow, sana all
Good evening,
answering. Ay,
ma'am.
good evening. Sana all ba ga multitask. So hapit na ang 6:05. So for now, kinsa pa man pa nako na interview. So ay good evening di ay Ma'am Jada.
Hello, good evening. I'm using my cell phone right now, so I'm having a hard time connecting with my internet connection sa laptop. Pero yeah, laban lang. I'm very excited for this topic.
Thank you so
And
much.
of course, I'm very excited to listen to the virtual teachers that are assigned tonight. Yeah, tonight na ba? Oo, it's
Yes,
already
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
6:01.
Yes,
No,
ma'am. Thank you
okay.
so much.
By the way, is your discussion recorded?
Yes, ma'am. It's recorded but we'll
Good,
have
very
a
good.
short live nga mag-motivation. Ano, naman.
Yeah. Sige,
Yes.
sige, sige. So, what time are you going to start, Christine?
So actually nag-start na mi ganina ma'am kanang 5:55. Nag-brief as of now ga-brief kamustahan pa mi kay nag-ingon mo ko sa
Okay.
ilaha nga 6:05 jud mi mag-start. So
Okay, sige. So, kumustahan pa day karon. Sige,
yes, ma'am.
padayon sa inyong pagkumustahan.
Si ma'am, thank you so much,
Ako
ma'am.
kay ano, wala, kabalo ko, di mo manguta lang sa ko,
Ay,
pero
no
ano
ma'am,
lang
I
mo,
want to
share lang
ask,
ko.
how are you today, ma'am?
Um, I'm a bit in pain
Oh,
physically
good.
kay, kanang, I'm having a dysmenorrhea attack right now. So, today is my first day of menstruation. I know that the ladies can relate, no? Women can
Related jud,
relate
ma'am.
nga dysmenorrhehon. Except lang sa kadili, sa mga babae nga dili ka relate, kayo na ang pinagpala ng langit at lupa. So yeah, but anyway, ano man, it's bearable ang dysmenorrhea because I have already taken my medicine. And another thing is that I'm excited, okay, for this class because as I have said last night, and as always, know that I am always looking forward to meet you, especially sa inyong section. Di ba, murag, lagi ka ma'am Dubay, ka sa mo section. Dili mo ko bayas. Love man tamo tanan. Di ba? Pero isang kita mo sa na-look forward na makita. Okay, so kana lang. Tapos ikog check no? Si kana lang siya, Christine.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, as a girl,
Okay.
maka-related ko sa imuha, ma'am, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Pero drink a lot of water lang, ma'am, and vegetable.
Okay. Sige, sige.
And
I'll
actually, we
take note on
are
that.
very thankful, ma'am, kay kanang permitted yung ka-supportive sa among section, and we'll do our best.
Oh,
We'll, we'll really do our best, ma'am, bisag medyo kulba, pero kakayanin.
yes
So,
naman. Kakayanin niyo yan. Sige.
okay.
So, you ask na your other classmates.
Okay, so I guess mag-ask na lang kog one person kay hapit na 6:05 na jud. So, how about Marcel Mahusay? How are you today? Hi, Marcel. So, I guess medyo hina ang internet connectivity ni Marcel. So, how about si Lauren Gel?
Good evening, ma'am. I
Good
am
evening.
just like them, doing fine and stressed out about my activities, but it's all good. And I know that these things and hardships will pass by. That's all. I'm doing good.
I'm really happy kay positive kay ka, Lor. Let's, please continue being positive. I know that all of us, daghan jud kay tag problema sa atong plate right now. And we are all working very hard for our dreams. Pero sagdi lang, like what Lauren Jill said, mahuman yun eh. So, time check is already 6:05 p.m. So, everyone, thank you so much for sharing your emotions and being honest. I know na it feels like this is really stressful, but I promise it will eventually end and your hard works will be paid off. In the meantime, I would like to remind everyone that this meeting will be recorded. So please mute your microphone for now because we will now formally start our class with a prayer. May I request Vince Miranda to lead the prayer?
Okay, ma'am. So can I start, ma'am?
Sure, you can start now.
Okay, so let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we praise you, Lord, and we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for the knowledge, for the protection, and for the gift of life, Lord, and the opportunity to experience education, Lord. Lord, we humbly and sincerely ask for forgiveness, for we have sinned in our actions, in our thoughts, and in our words, Lord. And also, Lord, as we officially start tonight's discussion, enlighten our minds, Lord, and give us the ability to understand, Lord. And also guide our and help our virtual teachers, Lord, so that they may be able to successfully instill the knowledge that they're about to impart in our minds, Lord. And also kindly make this session, Lord, an interactive one and keep our internet connection stable, Lord. This we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
In
In the name of the
Father,
Father,
the
the Son,
Son,
the Holy Spirit, amen.
so thank you so much, Vince, for that wonderful prayer. So again, good evening, students, especially to our supportive instructor, my Mom Jada. I am Christine Tilandayan, but you can call me Miss Teen for tonight. And I am one of your virtual teachers alongside with Mr. Cark Lopez and Mr. Neil Maestrado. So Sir Cark and Sir Neil, are you ready? If yes, kindly introduce yourself. Let's start with Sir Neil. Sir Neil?
Good, e- good evening, everyone. I am one of your virtual teacher tonight, and I am Neil Adrian Maestrado.
Thank you so much, Sir Neil. So, guys, mo to siya si Sir Neil, but you can call him Mr. Neil. Kaya mo yung prefer nga tawagon siya. So now, let's proceed to Sir Kark. How are you, Sir Kark?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Teen. Yeah, thank
Hello?
you so much. Well, anyway, I am Kark. K-A-R-K. Please don't mess that up. K-A-R-K. Number
Okay.
13 sa inyong balota. Well, well, I would like to send a good vibes to everyone, especially to our best teacher, Jed, who is quietly observing us in her corner. Yeah, how about you, Teen? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready and I'm actually doing good. Actually, ganina is I'm very nervous kay na I sudden power interruption, but I'm really thankful kay ni Palika. Thank you so much for asking. So now that everyone is familiar with the virtual teachers, before we officially start our lesson for today, I would like to ask everyone to remember all these class rules. By the way, guys, I am currently recording our meeting kay para naamoy mabalikan para ma-rewatch ninyo. So, these are our class rules for tonight. Rule number 1, kindly mute your microphone. Rule number 2, raise your virtual hands or type your questions in the chat box if you want to ask something. Rule number 3, oral recitations will be recorded, so we are encouraging all the students to participate. And rule number 4, follow the netiquette rules and listen carefully. That's all, and I hope all of you are situated in the best spot where your internet connection is stable. By the way, I'm very sorry if dili ko directly makatanaw sa camera kay actually I'm using a laptop so kailangan ako mag-navigate og duha ka bang multi-stacks kay para ang slides is man next. So, Before that, I will read our learning objectives for today. So, our lesson is about the typical and atypical development among children. And at the end of the 60-minute lessons, the students are expected to first understand the importance of typical and atypical development among children. Second, explain the importance of stages of child development and the different domains of development. Third, explain the difference of typical and atypical development among children. And fourth, cite the milestones of typical and atypical development. Later, this will be read again sa amo ang recorded report so that dili mo mawala sa ato ang lesson. So now, I will be checking some attendance. Say present if your last name is Gold. So, Sir Kark, are you ready to list down the present?
Yes, I am, Miss Teen.
So, Aninloy, RC Bar,
Present, ma'am.
Aristella, Balagulan, Barret,
Present, ma'am.
Bukon,
Present, ma'am.
Kabando, Kaburatan,
Present, ma'am.
Selan,
Present, ma'am.
Daigon, Dusol, Dumutan, Espanto, Exclamado.
Present, ma'am.
Oo, present si Espanto, Kuya Carl. Exclamado,
Present, ma'am.
Hingay,
Present, ma'am.
Ulagpos,
Present, Miss Teen.
Habonero, Lopez, Maestrado, Mahusay, Mangkawan,
Present, ma'am.
Mirande,
Present, ma'am.
Nakasabog, Ochavo,
Present, ma'am.
Uraw,
Present, ma'am.
Paderna,
Present, ma'am.
Pagawra, Kial, Sanchez, Solitario, Suldahan, Tamarion,
Present, ma'am.
Tatoy, Tumindog,
Present, ma'am.
Ranel Tuto, Jean
Present,
Tuto,
ma'am.
present si Ranel, Sir Clark. Jean Tuto, she's present si Jean Yakart, nakita na ko yung name. Ubal-ubal,
Present, ma'am.
Unduran,
Present, ma'am.
Verdida. Okay, human na jud og attendance. So naabay present pero wala natawag ilang name. So I guess not. So let us proceed. For the latecomers, don't worry kay we will be rechecking the attendance later. So let us proceed. For now, I would like to call Sir Neil because he will be assessing if you had learned something from the virtual teachers yesterday. Sir Neil?
Thank you, Miss Teen. Good evening, everyone. So, yesterday, the virtual teachers discussed about the components of special and inclusive education. Students, what did you learn on Module 7? Kindly raise your virtual hands. Anyone? I need two volunteers. Let's see. Miss Lorangel, kindly share your idea.
Good evening, Sir Neil. In Module 7, I learned that doing an assessment in special education was a long but fulfilling process because it enhances the professional skills of those individuals who work as a team in order to determine if a child have or does not have a disability. The virtual teachers last night were good in emphasizing and teaching the components of the assessment process, which are collection, analysis, evaluation, determination, and recommendation. Furthermore, my most favorite takeaway of last night's lesson or in Module 7 was the difference between accommodation and modification. In short, accommodation is conducive because it helps in removing barriers and it utilizes the same learning materials. However, modification applies changes to make it suitable for learners who have various learning needs. That's all from me, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lorangel, for your brilliant answer. Also, naminaw giday ka. And I need another answer. How about, can anyone raise their virtual hand? I need one volunteer.
So,
Anyone?
so how about let's ask the virtual reporters yesterday, Sir Neil. How about you, Zia? Unsa may nitatak jud sa imuha sa inyong lesson yesterday? Miss Zia? I guess hinay ang internet connection ni Zia. How about Vince Miranda?
For me, ma'am, in Module 6, I learned about the importance of assessment in special education because this serves as an evaluation to identify if students have any disabilities. So this could enhance the teaching approaches of the teacher that would best cater the students' specific needs and to really help them reach their fullest potential. So that's all, ma'am.
So, very good.
That was all, sir.
So, very good. I guess you had really listened carefully yesterday. As a short recap, let us remember that assessment can be used to identify students who may be at high risk for academic or behavioral problems through it interventions can be put in place to help students with exceptionality succeed in life. That is why it is very important in education. Now may I call in Sir Kark for the motivation. Sir Kark?
Hello, everyone. Once again, good evening. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you are
Yes, sir.
audible.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
Yes,
you.
you're loud
Thank
and
you
clear.
for that. I am actually on cloud nine tonight, because as we are accelerating to the next part, yeah, because I miss this kind of thing. Okay, let me play the part of your game master as we have a short game. Yeah, you heard it right. We will be having a short game called Guess and Define. Yeah, as you hear the title, you already know what to do. Okay, but before that, okay, let me give you the guidelines. Okay, we will be showing two set of pictures and jumbled letters. Yeah, and we want you to guess what the letters are, what the jumbled letters is, and the picture means. Afterwards, you will be defining it in one or two sentences. Okay, let's start. Okay, here's our golden rule. If you already know what the mystery word is, raise your virtual hands. Okay, yeah, I can see someone. Is that Renan? Yeah, permission to speak, Renan?
I think that is child development, sir. Child development for me, sir, is the process by which a child changes over time. That's it,
Okay, you
sir.
got
Thank you,
it.
sir.
Okay, you got it right, Renan. Yeah, you got it exactly. Okay, Miss Teen. Next word, Miss Teen. Yeah, as you can see on the board, I mean on the screen, yeah, it was already defined thoroughly. It refers to the sequence of physical, language, thought, and emotional changes that occur in a child from birth to the beginning of adulthood. Now, let's reveal the next word. Okay, raise your golden hand, I mean your virtual hand, if you want to answer. Anyone? What do you think is the mystery word? Is that Ronald? Yes, Ronald.
I think it's milestone, sir.
Yeah, you got it right. What do you think is the definition?
It's a an action or event marking a significant change or of development, sir.
Yeah, you got it right.
So, how about you, June? I saw you raising your hand
Yeah,
earlier. So, do
yeah,
you
good.
agree with the guess of Ronald? June?
Yes, ma'am. I agree, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, actually, this is the dictionary meaning of milestone. Okay, it is defined as a significant development of one's growth. I think this ends our short game. Now, let's give the spotlight to Miss Teen.
So, are you all ready and excited for today's discussion, everyone? If yes, kindly send a red heart emoji in our chat box. Well, let's see. Please send some red heart emoji. Oh, Mesli is sending one. Rian, Leslie, Berlin, Soldahan. I guess everyone is ready. So please wait for a minute. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. Wait. Okay.
Not in my device,
No
ma'am.
sound
Dili
yet.
sa kuha, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
I can present it for you, ma'am. No need, ma'am. I already found your video on the internet. No problem, ma'am.
Good day, everyone. I am Christine Tinandayan, your first virtual teacher. Today, me and my fellow instructors will discuss about the typical and atypical development among children. At the end of our 60-minute lesson, the students are expected to First, understand the importance of typical and atypical development among children. Second, explain the importance of stages of child development and the different domains of development. Third, explain the difference of typical and atypical development among children. And lastly, cite the milestones of typical and atypical development. Before we proceed to our discussion, Sir Clark will give us a short motivating quote.
Before we jump to our main topic, we would like to share this quote taken from Eileen Kennedy Moore. The path of development is a journey of discovery that is clear only in retrospect, and it's rarely a straight line. It's unique to every child. Others have curved or zigzag, but with the right approach, we would be able to help them in their needs.
Thank you so much, Sir Clark. That was really inspiring. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our discussion. Have you ever wondered how children develop? Maybe at one time you have compared your development with that of a sibling or cousin of yours. If this is the case, then you are interested in child development, which is the pattern of growth, change, and stability that occurs from conceptions up until adolescence. It also refers to the sequence of physical, language, thought, and emotional changes that occur in a child from birth to the beginning of adulthood. During the early 20th century, interest in child development began, specifically that which focused on dissecting abnormalities. Certain theories were discovered based on this interest to appreciate the growth that children experience from birth to adolescence. So, what are the child development theories? These are psychosocial development theory of Erik Erikson, cognitive development or developmental theory of Jean Piaget, socio-cultural theory of Lev Vygotsky, and social learning theory of Albert Bandura. During our past lessons, we had already tackled these famous theories, so I will just give you a short recap about it. First, Erikson's psychosocial theory is composed of 8 stages that describes the changes and conflicts encountered by an individual through social interaction in a lifetime. On the other hand, cognitive developmental theory focuses not only on how a child's intelligence increases with age, but also on how children gain knowledge. In contrast, sociocultural theory believes that children learn actively through hands-on experience. Culture and social interaction also plays an integral role. Last but not the least, the social learning theory of Bandura believes that learning takes place through observation and modeling. As a child observes the actions of the people in the environment, new information and new skills are developed. What is the importance of child development? Child development is important to ensure that a child meets his or her developmental milestones. It is crucial to observe and monitor his or her development. The milestones that needs to be mastered usually at the same rate act as a guide for ideal development. It is done by checking the progress of a child based on his or her age to see if the child is developing within expectations. For others, checking the milestones can help detect any difficulties at a particular stage. Interventions can then be given which can help in the development of a child.
Good day, everyone. I am Neil Adrian Maescrado, your second virtual teacher. And today, I am going to discuss to you the domains of development. Human development has 4 major domains: the physical development, the cognitive development, the social emotional development, and the language development. Each domain, while unique on its own, has much overlap on each other. It is better to understand this concept because this domain can be traced back to the human development. First, What is physical development? Physical development is the biological changes that occur in the body and brain, including changes in size and strength, integration of sensory and motor activities, and development of fine and gross motor skills. Physical development in children follows a directional pattern. Muscles in the body's core, legs and arms develop before those in the fingers and hands. Children learn how to perform gross or large motor skills, such as walking before they learn to perform fine or small motor skills, such as drawing. Muscles located at the core of the body become stronger and develop sooner than those in the feet and hands. Physical development goes from the head to the toes. The physical development helps the child to achieve developmental goals, especially the child's health is influenced by nutrition and illness. Because children are prone to diseases, their immune system is still developing, and they need a healthy diet to grow accordingly to the domain of physical development. Motor skills are actions that involve movement of muscles in the body. There are two kinds of motor skills. This is the gross and fine motor skills. Gross motor skills and fine motor skills develop during infancy and toddlerhood. What is their differences? Gross motor skills involve mastery of large muscle movements, as well as the building of strength in muscle groups like the arms, legs, and core. Example of this is reaching, rolling, crawling, walking, and climbing. On the other hand, fine motor skills involve smaller and more precise movements of muscles in the body. It largely involves the hands and the fingers. Example of this is a child pointing on another object, a child that is grasping another object, and another one is clapping. When we say gross motor skills, it involves large muscles or group of muscles in the body, especially when we sit, stand, walk, run, and keeping balance and changing our positions. While fine motor skills is using especially the hands to be able to eat, draw, dress, play, write, and do many other things. The second domain is cognitive development, which is defined as the changes in the way we think, understand, and reason about the world. Example is an infant which is not able to count numbers, but through the stages of cognitive development, she finally knows how to count numbers. In short, the cognitive domain includes intellectual and development and creativity. As they develop cognitively, children gain the ability to process thoughts, pay attention, develop memories, understand their surroundings, express creativity, as well as to make, implement, and accomplish plans. Cognitive skills are thinking skills including learning, understanding, problem solving, reasoning, and remembering. The third domain is the social emotional development. The social emotional domain includes a child's growing understanding and control of their emotions. They also begin to identify what others are feeling, develop the ability to cooperate, show empathy, and use moral reasoning. This domain also includes developing attachments to others and learning how to interact with them. For instance, children learn how to share, take turns, and accept differences in others. They also develop many different types of relationships, from parents and siblings to peers, teachers, coaches, and others in the community. Children also develop self-knowledge during this domain. The social emotional development involves social skills, including interaction with other people, having relationships with family, friends, and teachers, which corresponds to cooperating and responding to the feelings of others. The fourth domain is the language development. It refers to the process of acquiring language in a consistent order without the need for explicit teaching from the environment. Examples of language development are baby cooing or baby pointing to show what he wants. Language development is dependent on the other developmental domains. Infants understand words before they can say. In other words, comprehension precedes production of language. The ability to communicate with others grows from infancy, but children develop these abilities at different rates. The language development has language skills, like speaking, using body language and gestures, communicating and understanding what others say. To sum it up, domains of development are important because it helps us understand the areas of child development and aid us in identifying the child's strengths and areas in which they need to improve.
Thank you so much, Sir Neil, for that informative lessons. Hi students, it's me again, and I will be discussing the stages of child development. Did you know? Stages along with age are used as ranges to mark significant periods in a human development timeline. In each stage, growth and development occur in the four domains mentioned earlier by Sir Neil. So what are the 5 stages of child development? The first stage is newborn, which refers to children from birth to about 2 months of age. At this time, they exhibit automatic responses to external stimuli. The second stage is infants, and they develop new abilities quickly in the first year of life. At 3 to 6 months, an infant can control his head movement and bring his hand together. By 6 to 9 months old, an infant can sit without support, bubble, and respond to his name. Between 9 and 12 months old, a baby can pick up objects, crawl, and even stand with support. The third stage is toddlers, which refers to children ages 1 to 3 years old. At this time, toddlers learn to walk without help, climb stairs, and jump in place. They can even hold a crayon, draw a circle, stack one block on top of another, use short sentences, and even follow simple instructions. The fourth stage is preschool, which refers to children ages 3 to 5 years old. At this time, preschoolers refine their motor skills. They can throw a ball overhand, skip and hop, stand on one foot for 10 seconds or longer, dress themselves, and draw a person with features. Lastly, the fifth stage is school age, which refers to children ages 6 to 12 years old. They are capable, confident, independent, and responsible. Peer relationships, particularly relationship with friends of the same gender, are important to school-age children. The older school-age child begins to develop sexual characteristics. Class, did you know? The development of a child usually follows a predictable pattern. There are certain skills and abilities that are observed to gauge a child's bubbling and following directions. However, each child is unique, so not all of them can reach a milestone at the same time. Thus, typical development and atypical development occur. So, what is typical development? Typical development refers to the normal progression where the child grows by acquiring knowledge, skills, and behavior called developmental milestone at a certain time frame. So to be specific, what are developmental milestones? Developmental milestone refers to physical or behavioral signs of development of infants and children. Example of these are skills such as taking a first step, smiling for the first time, and waving bye-bye. On the other hand, atypical development happens when development doesn't follow the normal course. A child is developing atypically when he or she reaches a milestone earlier or later than other children his or her age. It could include things like learning and social disabilities and disorders. In short, atypical development can manifest in different ways, especially in children. For example, there can be physical delays such as a delay in gross motor skills, or there can be cognitive dysfunction such as inability to focus into something. How do we identify if a child is developing typically or atypically? Well, according to research, there is no clear way to identify if a child is developing typically or atypically. However, there are three common accepted principles of child development that one should look into. The principles are as follows. The first one is rate of development differs among children. This means that children grow and develop at different rates. While their developmental pathways may differ, most pass a set of predictable milestones along the way. A child can be a bit ahead or a little behind at a certain age. This is normal. Most of the time, given the right nurturing and stimulation, all children will be able to catch up in the end. Second, development occurs in a relatively orderly process. This means that development occurs in a predictable and organized manner. It has a sequence of steps that consistently follow one another. Development is a continuous process. Most development changes happen slowly and are apparent over time. Third, development takes place gradually. This means that continuous development emphasizes that development and changes in individuals occurs little by little. The next topic will be discussed by Sir Kark. Thank you for listening.
Before anything else, let me first emphasize that you should always keep track of a child's developmental milestones from infancy until they grow up, because milestones tell so much about the child. Are they showing significant delays or having a different patterns in achieving major milestones? For a 5 and 4-year-old child, it is so much easier to know whether they are manifesting healthy and normal development, or should be worried because they show a number of delays. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. But we will only focus on 4 and 5-year-old children. First, the typical and atypical milestones of a 4-year-old child in terms of social, emotional development domain. It is typical when a child enjoys doing new things, and atypical when a child sticks with routine. Creative in make-believe play versus doesn't manifest at all. Cooperates and plays with other children versus ignore people other than his family and would rather play alone. Plays mom and dad versus plays all by himself. Talks about likes and interests versus couldn't express his preferences. Socially and emotionally, a 4-year-old kid loves people, especially when they're dealing with kids. Raise your red flags if they don't deal with people and sticks to routines. Be more alarmed if they also prefer to be alone. And worry if they don't express what they want or doesn't talk at all. It would be wiser to seek professional help, because those things are red flags to something serious like autism and other issues. One more thing, kids at this age doesn't know what is real and what is a make believe. So it is advisable to feed them real things, because there is a right age for fantasy. Typical and atypical milestones in terms of language and communication. Knows the basic grammar rules versus speaks unclearly. The story versus can't retell at all. Names, colors, and numbers versus loses skills once had. Loves talking versus doesn't communicate at all. A 4-year-old kid were already capable of expressing their thoughts and ideas. They already know how to sustain a conversation. They literally love talking, especially to other kids and people close to them. If they couldn't talk or still in the stage of babbling, talking to the doctor and having the child evaluated would be a wise move. The typical and atypical milestones in terms of cognitive development domain understands the idea of counting versus couldn't count at all, and follow commands and instructions versus doesn't follow commands, and understands idea of same and different versus doesn't understand at all, starts to be time conscious versus doesn't know the concept at all, plays board games versus doesn't show interest at all, attempts to predict what will happen versus not manifesting that skill. The indication in having delays in cognitive skills is really serious. Cognitive is a major issue in terms of development because it may entail major delays in other areas as well. If it does, maybe the child has epilepsy, cerebral palsy, or Down syndrome, among others. If it only manifests in cognitive skills, most probably your child just have below average intelligence. The typical and atypical milestones in terms of movement and physical development: hops and stands on one foot versus can't jump in place, catches a bounce ball versus couldn't jump at all, words, cuts, scribbles versus having difficulty in doing practical life skills. Those I mentioned refers to gross and fine motor skills. Come on, if those are not manifested in a child at 4 years old, you should be alarmed, especially if there is a delay in gross motor skills, because it requires specific intervention and resolves as the child continues to grow. Kids, especially the 4-year-old, should already master his body muscle coordination, balance, and movement. Seeking for professional help is the wisest thing to do. Now let us talk about 5-year-old kids in terms of typical and atypical development in terms of social and emotional domain. Usually, kids at this age want to please others and be like friends versus withdrawn, not active, not responding to people. More likely to agree with rules versus the opposite, who doesn't follow at all, shows concern and sympathy versus doesn't show a wide range of emotion, like to sing, dance, and act versus doesn't have any interest at all, show more independence and shows gender awareness versus kids who are dependent and confused. They are sometimes demanding or cooperative versus shows a range of negative emotions. Did you hear the red flags? Those are really freaking me out. Dependence, deviance, showing a wide range of negative emotion entails a lot of problems. The best thing to do is to seek for professional intervention. Now let us move to the typical and atypical milestones in terms of language and communication domain. Well, a 5-year-old kid typically shows clear speech, tells story in full sentences, says name and address. On the other hand, atypical milestones are unclear in terms of speech. They don't talk about daily activities, or even worse, they couldn't talk at all. Can't say a name and their address. Well, those red flags are really serious. Don't wait another month to ask or help, because those things need serious attention. Now let's talk about the typical and atypical milestones in terms of cognitive domain. Well, typically kids can count up to 10 or more things versus loses skills he once had, can draw a person with at least 6 body parts versus couldn't draw at all, can be focused versus easily distracted, copies figures versus who couldn't do that at all, can tell what's real and what makes believe versus cannot tell at all. The typical milestones in cognitive development at the age of 5 should be taken seriously. Talk to the teacher, their developmental pediatrician, and weigh what you can do to help your child. Having evaluated is really a big help for us to find the right approach in helping a child. Typical and atypical milestones in terms of movement and physical development. The child at this age should be prepared for sports, but if there are serious delays or red flags like balancing, gross motor skills, and the like, it's a different story. We shouldn't waste time to seek for professional help. Doctors, the developmental pediatrician can really be a big help.
Thank you so much for listening. That's the end of our discussion, and we hope that you were able to learn something. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss Tin. To sum it up, class, domains of development is very important to the learners. And it is important for us to know this because the domains of development has 4 domains. This is the physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and language development. Moreover, we also discussed about the 5 stages of child development, which is the newborn, infant, toddler, preschool, and the school age. And in addition to that, we learn about typical and atypical development. And typical is katong nasunod nila ang ilang developmental milestones. While sa atypical is wala nagsunod or naguna ba or nailiwit ba sila sa pag-achieve ani. As teachers in the future, we need to keep in mind that we should assess our students and observe them because in that way dili ta maglisod og makabalot ta unsaon pag-accommodate sa mga learners nga atypical. And that's all. Thank you. Now may I call Miss Tin to proceed.
Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. I hope you're still fine on that side. Hey, we are already in one of the most exciting part of every lesson the assessment. Yeah, before that, let's hit the button for seriousness. Okay? Okay, this will be our formal assessment in a form of oral recitation, and I encourage everyone to participate, but I will only be calling 2 to 3 people. Yeah, but you may also type in your responses in our chat box. Yeah, because not everybody will be accommodated. Okay, I want you to set your eyes, set your mind on the question on the board. Okay, the first question was in 3 to 5 sentences, what did you learn from this module? Okay, I can see someone raising her hand. Yes, Lauren Jill.
Good evening again, sir. So, in Module 8, I learned that, as what you said and Ma'am Teen said, each child is unique. Therefore, we develop differently. There are those who experience normal progression, which belongs to typical development, and those who develop way too early or develop slowly, which belongs to atypical development. I also learned that we should not be the person who inflict verbal abuse or discrimination towards other people just because we can observe that their development is not the same with us. That would be all for me, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Okay, any other idea? I'm so sorry I cannot see the virtual hands. So yeah, I have a problem with my screen right now. But please, Miss Christine, can you help me? Yes. Yes, please, Renan.
Hello, hello, ma'am. I learned that I learned that this module covers the theme typical and atypical development among child, and there will be a difference between these two types of development among child. The typical development will give generic progress of the child compared to peers of the same age, just like, for example, smiling, crawling, manipulating objects, walking, and etc. While atypical development for a child to routinely fixate on one interest or part of an object, example, consistently spinning the wheels on a car instead of rolling the car. That's it, ma'am. Thank you.
Good, good evening, ma'am. Throughout this module and throughout for the discussion of the virtual teacher, I've learned how to differentiate between the typical development of a child and a typical development of a child. Speaking of the typical development, it's a normal progression or it's a progress of a development of a child normally, while a typical development is they are delay in progress or their development is not balanced for their age. And in my own perspective, I think it is very crucial to observe and monitor the child for his development in order to meet his developmental milestone. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, ma'am. In this module, my key takeaways, specifically in child's development, where different theories was combined to know the outcomes into every complex part of children's that needs process and development. Those theories and theorists play their extremely important role in child's development, whether physical, cognitive, or psychological, sociological, or behavioral I also learn how to understand children's among their development, not just because I'm going to be a teacher where I am obligated, but because as a person who used to be a children before, where seemingly I've also happened to experience to be developed.
Yeah, let's proceed to yeah, yeah. Let me add something, okay? Because I've been hearing this word over and over. You know, the typical and atypical topic really is a very sensitive issue. Yeah, you can relate to this if you have a family member who is um, who who have who is undergoing this serious issue. Yeah. Let us get away from using the word normal and abnormal. Okay. Yeah, because people, especially the mother and the parents and the siblings with children who doesn't undergo the typical curve of development is very sensitive. Um, since you'll be teachers, get away from using those terms, especially the word abnormal, because everyone is really normal when they are born, but there are it just ever happened that some kids happen to have a special case. So since we are already introduced about typical and atypical, let's use those terms instead of the normal and abnormal. Okay, the word normal and abnormal can be used to describe other things, but not people. Yeah, you can relate to this if you will have a special student who had special needs soon. Your their parents might bark at you if you keep on using those terms. Okay, now for the second question, I believe everybody is ready. Okay, let me read it for you. What do you think is the role of teachers and parents in child development? Anyone? Yeah, I can already see it. Yes, Maricel, permission to speak. Hello, Maricel. Are you there?
Hey everyone, am I audible? Okay, for number two, parents play important role in encouraging good child to good teach as best they can and identify possible ways that the teacher can assist a student to develop their skills from including and from activities to goals. Finally, in order to help and work together, it's the parents' and community who can collaborate and build a positive and encouraging environment. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Maricel, but we cannot hear you. Yeah, but we appreciate your effort to participate. Who else is raising his hand? Yeah, encourage those those people who were able to participate. Please raise your hand. Okay. On my list, it's Vin. Yes, Vin.
Good evening, sir. So to answer the question, sir, the blank slate theory suggests that the child's mind is actually a blank slate. So it's blank slate dokono. So it's like an empty cup. So the role of the teachers and the parents here is to fill that cup with skills, knowledge, wisdom, and ideal personalities and identities for them to be able to successfully experience the four domains of development. That's all, sir.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Now let's give it up to you're on the next June. Yes, June Urao.
Good evening, sir. I do believe, sir, that the rule of a teachers and a parents in child development is something that they are the one who build a strong, a harmonious relationship, which it can contribute to the creation of safe and healthy environment for the children, where mutual trust and respect will exist. And I also believe that uh, the parent, is provide encouragement and support to their children, and a child's learning and socialization are most influenced by their family, since the family is the child primary social group. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, June. Now let's give it up to Rian Hingay.
Good evening, sir. So, for the question number two, children have their stimuli that should be destined to develop their own innately. So, parents and teachers' rule for children is to hone the children once more, since children has their own edge. They just have to be guided and facilitated into right paths, segue to their development. More importantly, that parents and teachers are the ones who who understand the children most. So it should be their rule be the vehicle of children's. That's all, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you, Rian. Now let's hear from Zaya. Zaya, are you raising your hand?
Audible.
Yes, Zaya. I cannot hear you. But I think Zaya has a problem on her end. Yeah, but I'd like to read some answers in the comment box. Yeah, Maricel. Yeah, parents play important role in encouraging and motivating their kids to learn. Good parental support helps child to be positive, healthy, and good lifelong learner. Teacher shapes the students to become an independent and responsible learner. The teacher is the first person students learn social skills from its school. Support and cooperation from parents toward the teachers go a long way in helping to connect with, comprehend, and work with the child. The parents and teachers. Okay, that's all for number two. Actually, I wasn't really expecting to hear those ideas from all of you guys. I wasn't really expecting. But I would like to share something. Yeah, actually, um, this relates to my experience as a preschool teacher. Um, I will also be sending this one in our GC because it's quite long to talk about. It's called "What Society Gets Wrong About Children." Okay? If you read this one, you will be able to understand your role as um, as the most knowledgeable adult in a child's environment, because actually the child, well, I'm sorry to say this, but it's okay if you will not believe me. I don't believe that a child is that blank slate. Well, I don't believe in that theory, because in the principle that I believe in, um, a child possesses that spiritual embryo. They have that spiritual embryo that will drive them to learn. Okay, they're not empty. They are not born empty, but they are born with great potential. And the role of the parents and teachers are really, really very important, because children uses the environment for them to grow. And parents and teachers, being as the most knowledgeable adult, prepares the most ideal environment, which is perfect for the child's development. Yeah. If there is something wrong with the child, environment, most probably they will also it will manifest in their development. Okay. Um, I'd like to read one thing about what society gets wrong about children. Okay, as future teachers, especially in traditional schools, um, the society or the teacher expects children to sit still, but is it healthy for them to sit still for 8 hours or more in a classroom? Well, scientifically speaking, every child's body or even adults are not created or designed to sit still. Every human being is designed to move because if we move, especially to kids, we will be able to develop our brain, right? We will easily identify the difference between those kids who are used of sitting and kids who are used of moving around using their hands, using their feet, using their arms, and all parts of their body. Because in a classroom, in a traditional classroom, you can spot them because they are well behaved. Do you know why? Because the more a child moves, the more he will understand his body. And the more he understands his body and master his movement, the more he will learn to be patient. Just for example, just by tying the shoes, those kids who would have hard time tying their shoelace, well, doesn't really manifest that patience because they did not master their fine motor skills and gross motor skills. Well, I think I've I shared too much. Now let's are we already in the fourth question? Okay, let's move to that. Okay, after learning the differences between atypical and yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, now let's proceed to the third. I'm sorry about that. As a future teacher, what would you do if a child is atypical? Atypical meaning to say they have a lot of delays. How would you accommodate this learner in your class? I think we already have an activity with this one, the UDL plan. Okay, anyone? Please raise your virtual hand. Oh, I can see someone. The first one on my list is yeah, June.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. For this question, it's a very tough question, but I stand myself for every child is unique and every child learn differently. So, as a future educator, um, I must understand how the child develop, and I must separate the child from the behavior to prevent from internalization harmful to others. And I think I must be to considerate for the development of a child, and also I must put a planning instruction that can base on the readiness and interest of the child, and also I will accommodate the child's in an instruction both in writing and verbally, which I can allow the students to provide oral responses, and I will encourage the student to explore the subject in different ways. Thank you, ma'am and sir.
Yes, it's very comprehensive. Is it? Oh my, what's wrong with my screen again? Yeah, Vince, permission to speak, Vince.
Um, so to answer the question, sir, as an aspiring teacher, if one of my students is atypical, I will really try my best to be gentle and patient to him because I know that this could be hard for me, but this is more challenging for him. The fact that he's in school alone is already very hard. So I will try to evaluate what kind of learning style works for him so that I can revamp and modify my teaching approaches, my materials and tasks to kind of induce the eagerness in him to learn and participate. That's all, sir.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my screen again. What's wrong with my screen? Oh my, that's stable. What's wrong? Yeah, please, because my speed is bad.
So, good evening once again, ma'am. I realize, no, after the module was discussed, and I realized as a future educator that yes, I can probably guess why children need to develop and grow as they go along, but they can stay infants forever no matter the cute they are. So as a future educator, it's very significant for me to study and understand the diversity paths of a child for his development. And atypical and typical students have different progress for their development, and I must understand their individual needs. And I know that it can be difficult to determine differences between typical and a typical child because all kids have their strengths and weaknesses. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
For me, ma'am, after learning the differences between atypical and typical development, I realized that if I really want to be in the field of teaching, I should be flexible in my learning style and have a wide knowledge and heart for teaching different types of learners. And as a future teacher, my realizations today will mold me into a teacher with passion and tranquility despite hurdles. That's all for me, ma'am.
So my realization as a future educator after learning between atypical and typical is that no matter how you were raised perfectly by your parents, teachers, or someone, if your development choose that to be who you are, then it will always infect that yourself and shows explicitly to the world. Development in people are subtle to oneself. Development are the ones who choose the decision of what you're going to be in the future. So in short, development speaks louder than being assisted. That's all.
Hello, good evening once again, ma'am and sir. If I will be going to address, if I will be going to address this question, what will be my realization in this lesson? Upon learning about these two types of development in a child, I realized that there will be a significant difference between the two developmental children. I expect that these two types of development might be the same, but I might be wrong. When I was searching for the difference between the two, I found that typical child development is defined as a normal progression by which children change as they grow older by acquiring and refining knowledge, behaviors, and skills. And while atypical development is when development doesn't follow the normal course, it could include things like learning and social disabilities and disorders. That's it now. Thank you.
Well, well, actually, everyone really shared brilliant idea. Now I can relate to what Mom Jed always tell us. When I hear my classmates, I was really amazed by their thoughts. Yeah, and right now while I was talking, I still can't move on the ideas that they were sharing. But let me just add something. Okay, um, when we will be parents soon or teachers, we should always be sensitive to the typical and atypical developmental milestones because some positive um, some some positive aspects of a development of a child may be dressed in something negative. For example, if you can see your child, um, they're very brilliant. Their normal way of acquisition um, is is like having an explosion. For example, if you're going to present them a book, they will be able to memorize it. And if you will if you will observe them, they are exhibiting something something amazing. Like they will have arranged everything from left to right perfectly. They will clean everything perfectly. We should be watchful to that. Those things are nice. Seeing a kid um, being so smart, seeing a kid arranging things perfectly and properly, and simply cleaning up things for a parent that is pride. Wow, finally my kid is growing up to be excellent. But there are, we should pay attention to them because it's strange, you know, for a kid to manifest that as early as 3 or 5 year old, not normal because they are still in the stage of mastering other skills. How come that their brain is so fast? How come is their organizational skills and their things around them is already that quick? We should watch their other development instead of focusing to the positive side. Look at their other aspects. Are they socializing? Are they talking? Or are they talking but only to their family members? Or they just prefer to be alone and doesn't socialize? You know, sometimes parents are so blinded by their intellectual capacity and management skills of their kids, but they miss to look at other, how do you call that, other planes of development. Yeah. If they manifest a certain delay and in other domains, then there must be something wrong with your kid. Not be blinded with the positive side. So if you happen to have this kid in the future, always ask an opinion to their primary school teacher because they are trained and they can tell you exactly what to do. Um, I think that's all. And I would like to ask permission, everyone, that I would be sending a lot of things about this matter because this is very interesting. I had been working with this kind of thing for over 6 years for now, and I'd like to share everything that I experienced. Yeah. And thank you so much again for this very wonderful experience. I really learned a lot from you, and I hope we will always have this kind of spirit to love learning because that is really, really very, very, very important. Anything else, Tin?
Well, thank you so much, virtual teachers, no, for tonight's discussion. And before I give my comments, can we give a virtual round of applause to our virtual teachers? We have Kark, Landayan, and who's the other one, Gali? Maestrado. Oo. Gabi, I'm really out of words. Wait ha. I'm just going to get muna my... Am I audible? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am. Loud.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait. I'm going to get muna my earphone so that I can really... Okay, this one. Wait. Oh, sorry. Okay, how about this one? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. Actually, Clark, Landayan, and Christine, and also mentioning the previous virtual teachers, you really never failed me, no? You always hit my expectations. Kanabita may high expectation and gakahit gid ninyo siya always. And you know what? Uh, I would like to give my comments. I can really say that you are indeed ready, no? To become an intern student pohon-pohon. Pero dili pagid pwede karon kay second year man mo, di ba? But if ever gali na um, kamo ang types sa virtual teachers nga pwede mo mabiyaan sa klase tungod kay you can really manage your classmates or your class very well, di ba? So mo na siya ang comment nga akong ihatag sa inyo ha, Cart, Christine, and Dandayan. I can really say that you did prepared a lot for this. Nagkabalo ko, klaro ko sa tanan nga nag-prepare gid mo, di ba? Hanay kayo ang flow and you really followed the flow of presentation gikan sa um, activity, gikan sa review, gikan sa prayer, hangtod sa... Actually, I'm really out of words, gid siya. Like, wala ko yung maingon. Siguro kung maghatag ko og rate, pwede 200 over 100. Ayan na siya. Sobra-sobra siya. Yeah. Makaingon ko nga, you can really facilitate the class. Clark, Christine, and Lanayan without any bias ha. This is based from my observation gid siya. Of course, same also sa kanang with the previous virtual teachers. And I hope no that someday if ever na there will be a face-to-face teaching demonstration, I am really rooting for your section. Diba? Congratulations, Clark, Christine, and Nanlayan. Grabe, hanay kay inyong pagka-discussed and you were able to actively engage your classmates and you were able to elicit information from them. Di ba, tanaw na to ang chat, oh, grabe ang atong chat box, grabe ka puno. Kanang siksik kaayo, mura bito kanang nabasa pa ninyo tanan, Clark, Christine, and Maestrado. Hindi siya nabasa
Yes,
tanan.
ma'am. Na,
Yeah, okay. Okay, very good. You know what? This topic is very interesting kasi it talks about typical and atypical development. And I would like to magnify what Clark said, though it's not verbatim. Pero this topic, Manggod, is about ano ba? Identifying or recognizing signs of an early learning development sa isa ka bata. Like early development and learning needs sa isa ka bata. Because when we say typical, 'di ba? Ang gingon mo gud ganina is typical, mabitog the usual development sa bata, especially if 1 month old siya dapat inani na iyang mga actions, inani pa ang iyang dapat action. But when we say atypical, there are development nga usually either wala pa siya na-develop, nga dili siya usual ga kahitabo sa isa ka 1 month old nga bata or 1-year-old nga bata or dili siya dapat buhaton sa isa ka bata pero nabuhat na niya. And kana palang daan, it's very important for us no labi na sa atoa kasi may mga anak na dinhi or na mga manghud dinhi no nga naa sa inyong balay. If you could observe them, 'di ba? So matingala ka ba nga dias katungingon ni Clark nga um, naay bata nga nganong kani siya nga bata gabi ka hilumon nya kanong kani siya nga bata gabi ka alive, and then same ra sila og kuan kanang edad. I would like to give an example no, of course with her permission, the son of Ma'am Anna Marie Ginita, one of our co-workers. Actually, she told me na i-share na ko ang iyang experience ba. Like ang iyang first daughter is and second daughter 11 months lang ang gap. So wala pa 1 year ilang gap. So 11 months lang ilang gap, and then na-compare niya ang development sa iyang daughter and sa iyang son. Ngano iyang daughter attentive man kaayo, pero kung iyang anak dili siya attentive. Mura bitaw na-notice na niya at an early age, at 1 year old or 2 years old, no, at an early age kana palang daan, na-notice na niya nga there is something wrong sa iyang not something wrong, but there is something different sa iyang anak, sa iyang daughter and sa iyang son. Mura bitaw nganong lahi man those though 11 months lang ilang gap, pero nganong lahi man ang development sa lalaki, lahi pa ang development ani nga babae. And it only to find out pagpa-check is na aday autism ang iyang anak, mild to autistic ang anak or ang son ni Ma'am Ginita. So in that way, iya din gipa therapy, di ba? Iyang gipa speech therapy, iyang gipa cognitive therapy, iyang gipa physical therapy. And you know what happened to the son of Ma'am Ginita? Of course, wala mo kabalo kay karon pa man kun istorya, di ba? But what happened to the son of Ma'am Ginita na agapan siya? 7 years old siya, and ang autistic biya dapat is dili siya attentive, labi na kung mild to. Kung example imong storyaho ng bata, dili siya attentive ang bata kanang naa siya own niya nga world, naa siya own niya nga attention, more bitaw para sa imuha wala ka nag-exist. But if you will talk to the son of Ma'am Ginita or Ma'am Ann, makaingon siya kung nga dili siya autistic kay nga naman naagapan mo siya at an early age. And I also want you to take note on this topic, which is typical and atypical development. You observe your nephew, your brother, your niece, your sister, or your daughter or son. If nagsunod ba siya sa development sa isa ka normal nga bata or typical ba iyang development? Kaya if dili, at an early age, you need to correct that. And why do you need to know this topic? Because you will soon become teachers. And dapat kamo palang daan kung wala na detect sa parent, dapat sa inyo ma-detect na ninyo, and that's the time that you will do the intervention, which is motong topic kagahapon, di ba? Accommodation, referral, and everything. And I am not going to elaborate it because I know that the virtual teachers comprehensively elaborated the topic yun, and based from your interaction kanina and your answers, no, upon reading your answers all, I know that you really learned a lot. And what I want you to do is be vigilant, be observed, be observant of your kung dili pa sa inyong estudyante, sa inyong family member nga mga bata nga nasa inyo ha. Okay, that's my challenge to you. And do not be afraid to tell your parents, tell your auntie nga, auntie, si kuan bitaw namantayan ako ngayon ani. And please avoid discriminating the child. Dili ibig sabihin nga wala siya nagdako sa isa ka typical development sa bata na ani something wrong siya. No. Yes, there is something wrong, but we need to correct, we need to address, we need to help the child. Kay kung wala, kung matabang siya, what will happen to him or her in the future, di ba? Sinana siya. Well, anyway, again, congratulations, Clark, Christine, and Maestrado. I am very, very happy and I'm very satisfied, no? Pwede na galing nga wala na ko sa inyong discussion kay nakuha na ninyo na manage ninyo well ang class. And to the rest of the class who participated in the discussion, I really appreciate all of you because you cooperated with your virtual teachers as always. Thank you so much for supporting your virtual teachers. Sige, do you have any questions or clarifications before we have our photo op? Yes, Christine. Mm. Okay, sige. Thank you so much for bringing that up, no, Miss Christine. Actually, dili lang kamo ang naglibog. When other pod sections naglibog po sila, and I also have lapses on that because I was not able to specify the instructions. In the UDL, the project one, you're going to make a lesson plan and you need to follow lang the 6 steps. Katibitong na ay 6 steps in making a UDL. If you read the module, what module is that, Gali? Module 6? Okay, 5 to 6. Okay, you just follow the 6 steps. Like, it doesn't mean na grabe giga detailed na good morning, ma'am, good morning, class, good morning, ma'am. No, it's not like that. It's just a narrative or descriptive narrative sa on how are you going to accommodate um, your learners with special needs. Di ba? Ang isa dito kay na ADHD, ang uban po kinaapoy learning needs, di ba? So yan na siya. You're just going to follow the 6 steps. Kana lang. Yes, Car, question.
Yeah, actually, ma'am, it's about the UDL because actually I already designed. In my case, I did not make a lesson plan, but I designed an intervention scheme and teaching strategy that would help a child address the different needs. Actually, I call it um, the multi-level approach in UDL. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yes, yes, yes. It's it's
But
it's okay. Yeah, it's okay, Cart.
yeah, but in my plan, ma'am, usually it's a math class lasts for 1 hour. It has specific time frame.
Yes. Yes, you can also you can coach your classmates, not share your answer but you can teach your classmates on how to um make a plan based on UDL. Actually, UDL is understanding what does UDL stands for? Universal Design for Learning. Am I right?
Yes,
Nalibog
ma'am.
ko. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Oo. So, it could be a lesson plan. It could be a design. It could be an action plan. As long as how are you going to accommodate your learners? It could be a strategy plan. Maganda na siya. Di ba kay naman dito ang mga 6 steps and how to make a UDL lesson plan or strategic plan or action plan. Na siya. I'll give you the freedom. Did I answer your question, Miss Christine? Okay. How about yes, yes, Christine. With learning needs. Actually, the situation that I gave you is you are a grade 2 math teacher and you are a SPED teacher actually. You are teaching a SPED classroom. Pero ang inyo lang subject is math and then grade 2 levels. Yan na siya. Oo. Okay, thank you. So, do you have any questions? Okay, no, you're welcome, Lorenzo. So if wala na question, can I ask everybody to please turn on their camera so that we can take a class picture? You can use this sa inyong portfolio puhon-puhon. Okay. Well, let me see your beautiful faces. Have you eaten your dinner already? Ako wala pa. Okay, sige, turn on your camera in 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and congratulations, Star, Christine, and Maestrado. And also, thank you for actively participating in our discussion. Goodbye, class.
Goodbye, ma'am.
Bye. Bye. Thank you
Goodbye,
so
Goodbye, ma'am.
ma'am.
much. I'm so
Last year.
proud of you.
Goodbye and thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you. Congrats, Christine, Clark, and Maestrado.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, yes, please. I'm going to post it sa Google Classroom. Bye, Christine. Bye, Ranel Tuto.